Do you ever get up in the morning on a cold winter, dark morning? You fumble your way into the bathroom. You reach over for that light switch, and you're just about to turn it on, and you think, I don't know if the light's really going to come on if I flip that switch. So you don't flip it, and you stand there in the dark. No, of course not. We don't do that. When you go into that dark bathroom, and you reach for that light switch, you have faith that it'll turn on. It's not necessarily a guarantee that you know what's going to happen, but it's faith. There's a little bit of unknown. Now, faith is a much misunderstood word. Too often we think of it as either simply about religion, or we think of faith as being a blind hope. Maybe something will happen, and if I try, we'll see what it is. Or a belief in something that we don't really know about. In reality, faith sits in between hope and knowledge. If all you have is a hope, there's no faith in there. If you have a perfect knowledge, you don't need faith anymore. But faith covers that whole range in between. Just like reaching for that light switch. You know in the past it's worked. You understand the principles of electricity enough to know that if you flip that switch, it'll come on unless there's some other problem. And even if you were in someone else's house or in a hotel room and you went to flip that switch, you have enough faith that you're willing to take action. And taking action is where the real key of faith comes in. Faith is not an idea or a state of mind. Faith is an action word. Faith means that you have a hope, a desire enough for something, and you have enough knowledge of what's likely to be the outcome, that you're willing to take a little bit of a risk and take action upon it. Now, Napoleon Hill talks a lot about faith. Once you have a desire, is the foundation of success. You have to want that. But once you start to want it, you have to believe that it can happen. You have to believe that there's a possibility of success, that you will achieve your goals. Doesn't mean you need to have a perfect knowledge to start out with. It doesn't mean that you have to, in your mind, know that no matter what, this is going to work out. But it does mean you have to have enough knowledge that steps you've taken in the past have led you in a direction, that you've seen other people achieve those successes, so that it is possible. If you read through Napoleon Hill's work, you know that that's how he first achieved his faith in the idea of success and growing rich. He interviewed the most successful people of the day, the richest land barons, railroad barons, oil barons, the Rockefellers, and found out how they became successful. And he could see patterns in what they did and those people who achieved success. From those patterns, he knew that other people should be able to replicate those same things. And he's laid that out for us in his seminal book, Think and Grow Rich. So faith fits into that at the very beginning. Right after desire is a faith that it can happen. Faith has to start out as something small. You can't just say, Rockefeller became a millionaire, so I will, and I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. Faith starts with the small things. Look at the steps they took and say, if I replicate those steps, I can achieve some of that. It may take time to achieve the full thing, but I can get a start on that. The key of faith, though, it is not just in your mind. It's not just a thought, not just a desire. But faith only comes into play when it moves to the point of an action. Now, there's an old story that I used to use to illustrate the difference between believing something or hoping something or even wanting something and having faith. So once upon a time, there was a tightrope walker. And he set a tightrope, a cable, across Niagara Falls. And as he did this, a big crowd had gathered. And he decided to show them how good he was at tightrope walking. So as the crowd gathered around, he said, who here believes that I can walk across this tightrope and back? And people are saying, no, it's impossible. You can't do that. But he jumped up with his tightrope walker pole, and he went across and walked back the other way. No problem at all. And the people are cheering and said, "This guy is great. This is amazing." And he says, "Okay, who here thinks or believes that I can walk across this tightrope pushing this wheelbarrow?" And about half the people said, "Yeah, I think he can do it." And half said, no, it's just too difficult. So he hopped up and he went across and all the way back in this tightrope, no problem at all. So now the crowd is just roaring and excited at how good this guy is at tightrope walking. So he says, "Okay, who here believes that I can push this wheelbarrow across and back with a person sitting in it?" And now they'd seen what he'd done before. He says, "Yeah, this guy's great. He can do anything." He said, "Okay, I need a volunteer." That's the difference between believing something and having faith in something. If you're willing to be the one sitting in that wheelbarrow. Now, we're not always willing to jump straight into the wheelbarrow, even after seeing somebody walk across that, or seeing some of the success of people around us, or especially as we read books and we read success stories of people. We want to believe them. We like to, but it's difficult to be willing to sacrifice ourselves, to make that commitment, to risk sitting in that wheelbarrow, to make that leap of faith. So Napoleon Hill teaches us that we can start by learning from other people and start by taking those steps, taking some of the baby steps and taking those actions. That first baby step is usually the hardest part of it. So many years ago, I was in college, and the ROTC at the school had set up a rappelling little display inside the gym. It was probably about a 5-story high gym in the middle of it. So we climbed up this ladder up to the platform at the top, and they put the harness on us, had us stand at the edge of the platform, and told us to lean backward, and then they would lower us down with this rope. And I had seen many people do this before. I'd been watching them from the bottom. It looked like fun. It looked exciting. Looked easy to do until I stood at the edge of that platform. At that point, it suddenly became very, very difficult. What I had seen easily done by other people. But when it came to me, now it was something challenging. Now there was a risk involved. But I was there with a girl at the time, so I couldn't look too bad, So I leaned back like they said. And it was a terrifying feeling as I leaned back off of this platform. And my feet went away from the platforms. I was fully suspended on the rope. And a funny thing happened. There was no more fear at that point. I could feel the rope around me. I could enjoy the view. Once I had taken that first small step, the fear went away. The worry went away. That I can go down, it was just fun from then on. Faith is like that. You have to be willing to risk a little bit at the beginning, to take that first step, to lean back off that ledge, to get in that wheelbarrow. And once you start to do it, you realize the success that comes from what you're doing. The seed of faith is planted, it starts to grow, and you start to see the fruit of it. You start to see that perhaps what you've been looking at was not as scary as you thought it was initially. So when you look at faith, start with a hope, with a desire. I should do that backwards, sorry. Start with a desire, something that you want, with a hope that you can get it. Then do your research. Look for examples of people who have succeeded. Look for those stories, whether it's an exact one or something you can draw a parallel to. Find that success that's in there. Convince yourself that there is success to be had. If anyone can do it, then anyone can do it. It's kind of like cooking. If you can read, you can cook. You just follow the instructions, what they say in the recipe book. You're going to get pretty much the same result. Now in life, it may not be exactly like that recipe. We may not get the exact result that everyone else gets. There's a lot of variables coming into it. But we're going to be moving in that direction. The stronger the desire we have, the easier it's going to be to overcome those obstacles of faith and to make that first step. If you're walking through the woods and you see a bottle of water, you're probably not going to pick it up and drink it. It's a little bit scary to do that. But if you're in the desert and you've gone a day without any water and you're severely dehydrated, you're literally dying of thirst, and you come across a bottle of water, the risk is not going to seem as big as the reward of having some moisture and that liquid that you need. We need to build up that desire in ourselves, where we want something so much that we're willing to take a little bit of risk. And having faith from the things we've learned from our own experiences and those around us, that success is possible. And then take that desire, let that fuel your emotions, your actions. Let it overcome some of that fear and hesitation we might have. And let it take that step of faith. And with that faith, that action, taking a step of faith, is where your success is going to start to take off. Until you do that, there's no success. There's random luck and chance. Until you're willing to put faith into your life, that you can have a better life, that you can think and grow rich, like Napoleon Hill says. So I encourage you to focus on faith. Think about the things you're doing, the things that you want, the goals you have set. Find a path that you believe will get you there, and then start to take those steps. Because without the action, nothing will ever happen. Nothing ever happens without action. And faith is an action word. So thank you.